We will begin Lecture 2 of the book of Genesis. Let us discuss the introduction of Genesis. First, we will look at the name of the book of Genesis. The names of the Pentateuch are based on the first words that appear in the 5 books. In Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, it says, "In the beginning." Hence, the name of Genesis is Bereshith. Bereshith. This means in the beginning. Bereshith. There is also the Greek version, Septuagint. In the Septuagint, it says Genesis. Genesis. Genesis means genealogy or family. Genesis chapter 2 verse 4. Genesis chapter 5 verse 1. This in Hebrew is Toledoth. Toledoth. In Greek, it is Genesios. This word holds the meanings genealogy, generation, origin, creation, and birth. Genesios has these types of meanings. Bereshith means in the beginning. The Septuagint titles it as Genesis. This comes from the Greek Genesios. The Hebrew translation is Toledoth. There is the Vulgate, the Latin version of the Bible. The Vulgate is the Latin translation. This version uses the term Genesis. Genesis. That is why the English versions also use the term Genesis. The Chinese Bible says 창세기. The Korean Bible also says 창세기. The author of Genesis is Moses, as we previously studied. There is no one besides Moses who could have recorded it. Third, we will discuss the date of when Genesis was written. The starting point of the nation of Israel can be traced back to the Exodus. Therefore, there is the early date and the late date. The early date is 1446 BC. The late date is 1300 BC. We accept the date of 1446 BC as the date when Genesis was written. Fourth is the purpose of Genesis. It reveals God Almighty, who created the universe and all of humanity. It covers the creation of the universe to the formation of the 12 tribes of Israel. God is the one who reveals His creation of a holy nation for Himself and for salvation of humanity. Genesis also teaches that we who have fallen will be saved through Jesus Christ. Fifth is the theme and characteristics. Genesis teaches us the value of life and teaches us about the Sabbath, marriage, and family. It teaches us about sin and death, civilizations, and worldly cultures. It also teaches that there is only one God. Yahweh God created the universe and oversees all that happens in it by his sovereign power. Sixth, there is a relationship between Genesis and Jesus Christ. The Messiah will come from the seed of a woman. Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. He will be a descendant of Abraham. Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. Chapter 22, verse 18. Also, he will be a descendant of Isaac and Jacob. He will come specifically from the tribe of Judah. Genesis chapter 49, verse 10. Jesus will come as the second Adam. Romans chapter 5, verse 14. Noah's Ark foretells Christ's work of salvation. Also, it foretells of Christ's eternal priesthood through the high priest Melchizedek. Hebrews chapter 7, verses 15 through 17. Also, the ladder in Jacob's dream foretells of the intermediary role of Christ. Chapter 28, verse 12. Also, Christ will come with the kingly authority from the tribe of Judah. Genesis chapter 49, verse 10. We can divide Genesis into two major sections. First is the historical section. This is the history of the origin of the earth. In this section, there is the creation, chapters 1 through 2. Second, there is the fall, chapters 3 through 5. Next is the flood, chapters 6 through 9. Then the birth of nations, chapters 10 through 11. Then there is the second major section. It consists of the patriarchal history. It focuses on individual people. First, Abraham, chapters 12 through 24. Second, Isaac, chapters 25 through 26. Third, Jacob, chapters 27 through 36. Fourth, Joseph, chapters 37 through 50. We will now look at the faulty theory of evolution. Evolution, first of all, says that there is no God. It is an idea that deceives people to believe that science is the answer to life. Evolution, however, is not science. It is simply one of many hypotheses. Charles Darwin was at the head of this hypothesis. He wrote The Origin of Species. The Origin of Species. Darwin said that all creatures evolve from and follow the principle of the survival of the fittest. The survival of the fittest. He said the simplest of cells or organisms can evolve into a complex life form. That is how humans came to exist today. Furthermore, everything continues to evolve even today. According to Darwin's theory, a lifeless, inorganic matter can become a living organism through evolution. Through a long period of time, inorganic chemicals can become organic matter. Lower species evolve into higher species. Thus, viruses and bacteria continue to evolve. They can become plants and animals and become humans. Fish become amphibians. Amphibians become reptiles. And reptiles become mammals and birds. We must criticize this. First, let us look at this from a scientific point of view. In science, a hypothesis must be verified through experimentation. This means to testify to facts that are being tested. However, evolution is not scientific. Evolution occurs through a series of chances. Therefore, scientifically speaking, a species cannot evolve to a different species. A dog is a dog, and a cow is a cow. A dog cannot become a horse. A monkey is a monkey, and a human being is a human being. A monkey cannot become a man. There is no intermediate stage between life forms. In the cell of every living organism is the RNA and DNA. The creation of species occurs through information contained in the DNA. A species cannot evolve into another species. There cannot be macroevolution. However, there is Mendel's theory of inheritance. Mendel discovered that beings undergo certain changes. the Mendelian inheritance is correct. Also, according to geological fossils, evolution is false. Fossil evidence discredits the evolutionary theory. There is also the law of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics is the law of conservation of energy. It has been discovered that energy or matter within the universe cannot be created or destroyed. Energy is merely transferred. For example, as electricity is created by falling water, there is no change in the existing amount of energy. The form of energy can change. Therefore, evolutionists who suggest that new forms can be created are wrong. Next, there is the second law of thermodynamics. This law says that matter tends to deteriorate rather than improve with time. This is also called entropy. This means that order moves towards disorder. This has been scientifically confirmed. The evolutionary theory says that life renews itself. However, according to the law of the universe, things deteriorate. Even Hebrews chapter 1 in the Bible says that the world perishes and wears out. Furthermore, atheism was born from the evolutionary theory. There is much evil that resulted from it. For example, take a look at Hitler and Nazism. A great number of people were killed through this. Materialism and atheism arose from this way of thinking. In addition, humans have a sense of morality. They have consciences. Animals do not have consciences, morals, or reason. Animals also do not have religion. We humans are religious. All people seek a higher power. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11. Next, God created the earth and the universe fittingly. The temperature of the earth is just right. 3/4 of the water of the earth is water. It is through water that the temperature on the earth is regulated. The water circulates. Even the size of the earth is just right. The earth cannot be smaller or bigger. The distance between the earth and the sun is also just right. Also, the distance between the moon and the earth is just right. The rotation of the earth, one cycle per day, is also just right. The earth cannot rotate too slow or too fast. Also, the atmosphere is just right, and all elements are placed in the right places. The moon cannot be too close or too far from the earth. God created humans unique and different from animals. Evolutionists say that animals evolved to become humans. However, humans were special creations of God. Animals crawl on 4 legs. Humans walk about. Humans have 2 feet and 2 hands. Chimpanzees only have 4 feet. Humans have personalities and reason. They can make excellent uses of tools, and as a result, materials and cultures can be developed. We use automobiles and computers. We fly planes. Humans participate in cultural activities. They watch movies and plays. However, there is no material civilization in animals. They are the same 100 years ago and 1,000 years ago. They have no religion. Only humans have religion. Also, humans have words and language. Animals have no words. They cannot surpass simple signals. Moreover, God created us in His image. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Humans have souls. Let us again criticize the evolutionary theory. First, let us look at the mathematical probability. The smallest part of a life form is the cell. The cell is composed of proteins and nucleic acids. In the nucleic acid are the DNA and RNA. In the cell is the protein. The protein is composed of over 20 types of amino acids. It is composed of amino acids. The combination of hundreds and thousands of these amino acids make up the characteristics of life. Then what is the possibility of one protein molecule growing into a life form? It is 1 over 10 followed by 340 zeros. Therefore, it is impossible for a random protein to create life. Next, let us look at it from a biological point of view. There are 1,500,000 species that inhabit the earth. It would take a tremendous amount of time for all these species to have come to existence through evolution. It would take thousands of years for even one species to evolve into another species. Then how many years would it take for 1,500,000 species to evolve? This is impossible. Also, scientists have yet to have found any form of being in existence between apes and humans. Next, we will look at this from a geological point of view. We support the cataclysmic hypothesis. This hypothesis claims that fossils were created during sudden changes on Earth, such as during the time of Noah's flood. If animals gradually evolve, they cannot become fossilized. Because the water will wash away dead remains, animals cannot gradually become fossilized. Carcasses become fossils as a result of sudden changes of temperature and/or pressure. Therefore, we believe that the fossils were created through Noah's flood. In the 18th century were two persons, Lyell and Hutton. They put forward the principle of uniformitarianism. They supported the theory of evolution. They taught that all creatures shared a common ancestor. They claimed that all organic matter evolved from a single cell to a multi-cell organism over the time span of hundreds of thousands of years. They speculated that there were 12 stages in the evolutionary process. They believed that whatever was at the bottom was the oldest. Whatever was at the bottom was the lowest form of life. However, there has never been found anywhere on Earth of anything that supports this theory. There is no place that shows that the fossil at the bottom represents the lowest form of animals, and the fossils on top represent a higher form of animals. In actuality, the fossils are mixed and not in order. There are also no discoveries of fossils at an intermediate stage between two species. A fossil of a creation between man and a donkey has never been discovered. A middle fossil between a reptile and a bird has never been discovered. Therefore, fossils discredit the evolutionary theory. The evolutionary theory has caused much damage to society. The rates of suicide and euthanasia continue to increase. Abortion, pornography, and homosexuality increase, and it creates contempt for life and a falling away from morality. Therefore, the evolutionary theory is atheism, and atheism is the evolutionary theory. It is not science, but rather it is unscientific. We must not teach this in schools. Charles Darwin published The Origin of Species in 1859. In the book, he included 800 assumptions. He asked the question, what if? We previously talked about Mendel. Mendel put forth the law of inheritance. This is scientifically correct. Creatures inherit characteristics through genes. In England, there was a biologist named William Bateson. What did he say? He said, if Darwin had witnessed Mendel's experiments, he never would have published The Origin of Species. Also in the human cell is the chromosome. The chromosomes in each living organism have its own unique set of numbers. In humans, there are 48 chromosomes. Monkeys have 54. Dogs have 78. Cows have 60. Carp have 104. Cats have 36. Mice have 42. Frogs have 26. Silkworm have 56. These chromosomes will never change. Cows are cows, and horses are horses. Horses cannot become dogs. Dogs can become dogs. However, because they are of different species, dogs cannot become cows. In addition, the age of the universe is not that old. The universe is less than 10,000 years old. For example, the diameter of the sun shrinks 150 kilometers per century. The sun shrinks 150 kilometers in diameter every 100 years. Then 10 million years ago, the sun would have been touching the earth. Therefore, evolutionists who say that the earth is 5 million years old are absolutely wrong. The rotation of the earth is slowing down. Also, the age of the universe could be determined through the dirt on the surface of the earth. We can measure this through the amount of helium gas. We can also measure this through the amount of dust gathered on the moon. The Earth's age can be determined also through the electromagnetic field of the Earth. According to these sources, the Earth is about 6,000 to 7,000 years old. Fossils discredit evolution. Many people claim that they have found fossils of an anthropoid. An anthropoid is a creature between monkey and man. It is a creature that is in the process of becoming a man from a monkey. Monkeys are close to humans. First, there is the Piltdown man. This was discovered in England in 1912. It was discovered in the region of Sussex in England. It is said to have been discovered in that area. They found bone fragments. The bones were displayed in a museum. This is the anthropoid. However, they later discovered that everything was made up. The jaw belonged to a monkey. The skull was a human's skull. They found that these bones were put together. Then it was taken out of the museum. Second, it was said that they discovered another anthropoid, the Nebraska man. They based the discovery on a tooth and claimed that they found an anthropoid. They found a tooth and said that this was an anthropoid. How absurd is this? These people were full of imagination. They later discovered that this tooth belonged to a boar of an extinct species. Scientists deceive people in this way. However, they put this in textbooks and teach lies to students. Next is the Australopithecus. This was discovered in Africa in 1925. Scientists claimed it was an ancestor of humans by what a set of teeth and skull fragment showed. However, in 1966, it was confirmed to be a monkey. Fourth is the Java man. This was discovered in Indonesia. It was discovered by Dr. Eugene Dubois, and the part of the skull was found in 1891. A year later, they found a jawbone and 2 molars. However, 30 years later, Dubois admitted that they were bones of a gibbon, an ape. Scientists lie about making discoveries in order to become famous. Next, there is the Neanderthal man. This was discovered in Dusseldorf in Germany. It was found in Dusseldorf. However, it was later confirmed that this was the remains of someone who suffered from a hunchback from a result of rachitis. People are putting these lies into textbooks and teaching students. They also point to the Archaeopteryx, an ancient bird creature. They say it is a cross between a reptile and a bird. However, the Archaeopteryx is not a mixed creature. It is a bird. It is not an animal in the intermediate stage. Let us think about the meaning of creation. Let us think about the significance of creation. God created something out of nothing. He brought into being everything where nothing existed. Creation in Hebrew is bara. This means to create something out of nothing. There is also the word asa, then yatsar. These words, meaning make or form, have to do with making or forming something from pre-existing materials. God created the universe. There was nothing before the heavens and the earth were created. There was only God. Second, the meaning of creation is that God created with His words. Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, verse 6, verse 9. Psalm chapter 33, verse 6. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 3. Romans chapter 4, verse 17. God the Trinity created the heavens and the earth. Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. Christ personally created the universe. Christ created the universe. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 2. John chapter 1, verse 3. Colossians chapter 1, verse 16. 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 6. God created everything according to its kind. Chapter 1, verse 11. Verse 12. Verse 21. God created everything perfectly, good, and beautifully. Chapter 1, verse 4. Verse 10. Verse 12. He created everything in 6 days. Chapter 2, verses 1 through 2. Exodus chapter 20, verse 20. Day is Yom in Hebrew. Yom. Yom signifies 12 hours or 12 hours in a day. It also signifies 24 hours or a certain period of time. We believe that there are 24 hours in one day, according to Exodus chapter 20, verse 11. Some people claim that the age of the earth and the universe is 4 or 5 million years, and some believe that the first and second days in Genesis are thousands of years. Some claim that the time period between each day refers to a long period of time. However, we believe that one day is 24 hours. Also, God created with purpose. There was a goal for creation. God created the heavens and the earth for His glory. All things move according to God's sovereign power. Romans chapter 11, verse 36. Next, all things were created with order. The good will of God is being fulfilled in a beautiful way. Creation also has value. God created the heavens and the earth and saw that it was good. Lastly, let us discuss theistic evolution. Theistic evolution sees evolution as a scientific fact. They accept evolution as science. They claim that when things cannot be explained by evolution, it is where God intervened. They claim evolution is scientific. If evolution cannot explain something, that means God worked at that time. When God created the universe, He used the evolutionary method. He created everything through the evolutionary way. This is an incorrect theory. It is a mixed theory. This is neither evolution nor creation. This ultimately denies creation. This theory uses God to solve the problem of evolution. Therefore, theistic evolution is opportunistic and a mixture of ideas. Therefore, theistic evolution is incorrect. Evolution from the beginning said that organic matters evolve into a single cell, and a single cell becomes a multi-cell organism, which ultimately changes from a simple animal to a complex creature. Yet they cannot explain where the first organic material came from. They do not know where the first material came from. Evolution is nothing more than a hypothesis. It is not science. How great was the number of people who suffered as a result of evolution. Evolution makes people lose their faith, and it is an evil idea that goes against God. This is not science. There is no evidence for this. Evolution is religion to those who believe in it. They believe in evolution. We believers believe that God created the heavens and the earth. The world is not the result of chance. The sovereign God created everything in His wisdom and power. The universe was created by God. Therefore, we must stand firm in faith to the doctrine of creation. All things were created for God's glory. God rescued us sinners through Jesus Christ. We must give glory to God for all of this. Thank you.